We are poor little lambs who have lost their way. If the beginning of a TV show comes to mind after hearing that, then you're probably a man or perhaps a person of a certain age. Growing up as a kid in the 70s, Baba Black Sheep got me hooked on the outrageous tales of Pappy Boington. But later, as I discovered the Canadian warplane heritage in Hamilton, I came to know that Canadians flew these in the Royal Navy. One of them, well, didn't really win. Was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross, which is the Commonwealth's highest honor and probably one of the hardest medals to get, for action on the last day of the Second World War. The only ace in the Royal Navy who flew Corsairs was a Canadian from Toronto, and his name was Don Sheppard. Unfortunately, his brother pranged, he was a Corsair pilot as well, on the deck of a carrier and lost his life during the war. That said, it's been a favorite kit of mine since it came out. Now brace yourself, because what I'm about to say next may shock you. This kit was released 25 years ago.
Camelot.
That's right.
Camelot. Camelot. It's only a model.
And I think it stood up to the test of time. Magic Factory has just announced a 2-in-1 Corsair kit. It's going to be an F4U-2 with the radar and an F4U-1A, which was the first of the bubble tops. Who knows? We've just seen test shots. We've seen some CAD drawings. It looks great. I hope it fits. I will definitely have one on order. But let's take a look at this kit. So I've already taken out the parts from the plastic. We'll start first with the clear. Oh, excuse me. Just had dinner. We'll zoom in on the clear parts there. There we go. So you do get parts for the 1 and the 1D. And if you do want to build a 1D, I think the propeller is slightly larger in the 1D kit. I'm not too sure. I'd have to check my references. I remember there's also talk that if you do want to build a fleet air arm bird, you need to change the prop. So maybe I'll write an article on that in the future. I'm a fleet air arm aficionado. So those are the clear parts. And whoops, that's the cowl. Well, since the cowl wanted to make an appearance. Not too bad. The detail is quite nice. Let's do the old zoom in, and there we go. We got focus. So as you can see, it's quite nicely done. For 25 years, I think the kit still holds up. We'll just zoom out a bit here.
Here's 34 to 36.
I'm going to have to readjust my dots. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, comes with a lot of the fuselage pieces. The seat's not bad. It's a little thick. Ultracast had one with, I think it had a Sutton harness and a US harness, and I think there was an option for no harness. You can still get them from Ultracast. I think they're phenomenal. Wheels aren't too badly done. The engine, at the time it came out, it was the bee's knees, as my friends across the ponds would probably say. It's not bad. I'd like it if the rods were separate and if there was ignition wires. We'll have to see what the Magic Factory kit brings out. Landing gear's not bad. Like overall, it's pretty decent, and it still stands up. And when it came out, it was a breath of fresh air. It was above anything we'd seen before. I think the best kit prior to this was the Oki, or sorry, the Otaki. Oddly enough, Canadian Hobbycraft released their 48 scale Corsair. I think it was something like 6 weeks before this was announced, and I don't think they stood a chance. It was a good kit. It would have been the best kit. Well, it was the best kit for 6 weeks until this came out. But unfortunately, timing in the hobby world's everything, and Tamiya has always played their cards pretty close to their chest. They don't announce, hey, we're doing this. You'll occasionally hear that they've sent a crew somewhere, or there's been talk on the internet occasionally that a Japanese crew were measuring something somewhere. When I worked for Borgfeld, they never told us what they were up to. I remember one time they were in town to measure something at the Canadian War Museum, but they didn't even contact us. We found out after they left. So if I was running a business, that's how I'd do it. I wouldn't make any announcements until the kit's out. You're gonna get, somebody beat you to the race if you do that. Cockpit's really nice. Like I said, I've built this several times. There are some tweaks. It's not a perfect kit, but it's like a lot of Tamiya things. It's pretty much shake and bake. And if you wanted to see the other side, there's a bit of detail where the rear landing wheel goes. Some in the cockpit. For the day it came out, it was an insane amount of detail. But Edwards really come forward with their level of detailing, and the newer Tamiya kits, obviously. I don't know. I've often said Tamiya should revisit this kit like they did with the Spitfire and the 109. Maybe they plan to. Maybe by the time this gets released in a couple of days, there'll be an announcement. I know nothing.
I know nothing.
Don't get your hopes up. Okay, and then the wings. And there we go. The wing sprue. So Tamiya built this so that the wings could be folded, and they fold up really nice. What takes a bit of work is making them straight. It's not insurmountable. It's just a bit of work, and I think we've had it so good from Tamiya in the last, well, even with kits that came out at the same time as this, that having to do a bit of work, I guess, makes some people squeamish. It goes together really well. One thing they goofed on was the slot here. That was to make boarding the Corsair a little easier, and it was a post-war adaptation, and it carried over into, I think, the F4U-4. The later models had a stair, a boarding step that descended from the fuselage. But that was post-war, so if you're building a wartime bird, you'll want to blank that off. It's pretty simple. I've had a couple of ways to do it. Put tape across, fill it with CA and baking soda, and it's done. Or you can fill it. Whatever works for you. There's all sorts of ways to get there, to get to the same place. Again, some really nice detail. There should be some wiring here. I believe there's an access zipper and canvas affair to get into parts. That said, if you... How are we going to do this? Join my Patreon, and I will put up a guide of vintage wings F4U-1D, which unfortunately crashed a couple of years ago and has been sold recently. I did a walk around with my camera, took a ton of photos. And if you want those for your own builds, join Patreon, and we'll put it up there as a bonus, along with some other things I'm working on. Stay tuned. Again, lots of nice detail here. And if you're wondering, the Corsair, the early models, had a bombing window. And it wasn't for bombing ground targets or vessels. Back in the late 30s, there was this doctrine of aerial bombardment of enemy bombers, and you would use 5-pound bombs or air grenades and fly over a bomber and release them on top of them. it didn't work, and nobody went further with it. Some of the pilots liked it because they could look straight down, but after a while they got painted over, and then eventually they were blanked over with aluminum. You can check Dana Bell's excellent series of books, which I'll put links to on the Kitco site. Just look in the comments. You can click on the Kitco link, and you can purchase that if you want, and I'll receive a very slight commission, which will go to the animals. My animals, in food and whatever treats, right, Sadie? She's hovering here. Okay, a couple of smaller sprues. Let's just zoom in. Oops. Okay, so revised cockpit from the. Actually, sorry, no. These are the parts from the previous model. They're included here because you can use the bomb and the shackles. But these are from the birdcage Corsair. There's the radar pieces, the fuel tank, bomb, Brewster bomb holder, and the pilot figure, which it's not bad. It'd be nice if his hands weren't molded in. But again, you know, it's not too bad. Coming from, well, actually, I started as an aircraft modeler. I went into armor. I really enjoyed painting figures. I wish there was more 48 scale figures that, you know, were of a variety, instead of just the pilot posing. I'd like to get into some airfield dioramas. With 3D printing, that'll probably make it easier. And if you're doing something American, there's tons of American figures you could use. But those of us who like the Commonwealth approach, it's not a lot of British stuff. Okay, here we go. These are the new figures. Or sorry, the new sprue. There we go, it fits in. I think this came from the 1D. And it was included with this because you need the new bulkhead for the cockpit. The previous one was made for the turtleback. You have not the turtleback, the birdcage, they call it. They've got the new bulkheads. You get another figure, which, again, I really like this one. This is what I wish Tamiya would include more often in their kits. Guy doing something instead of just sitting in the cockpit. Couple of drop tanks. These are for the 1D. So again, you could use this. You could buy the 1A and make a 1D. I think the only difference is the prop, but don't quote me on that. I'll have to buy 1D and we can all look at it. And not much to see on the other side. Okay, and into the home stretch. We have the decals. So at some point Tamiya started stapling the sheets and putting a piece of tissue over, which I think is a good move. Keeps them protected. They give you a good representation of the instrument panel. I've tried in the past to cut these with a stamp, because I prefer to put the individual ones in, but I've seen a lot of people just put this right on the dash, hit it with Solvaset or whatever. To me, a mark fit in this case, and it settles down quite nicely. So you get early markings. You get the 1943 3-month red ring, or red line around the insignia, and then the later model, which continue to be used throughout the war. They're not bad. I find with Tamiya, though, you have to use their Mr. Mark fit, or they've got a couple of different decal setting solutions. They're a bit on the heavy side, but they're nice. They settle down really nicely once you hit them with the proper stuff. Yeah, I won't get too much into it. You get some Tamiya propaganda. And then the instructions and whoops.
Enhanced 224 to 176.
Okay, there we go. So, as usual with Tamiya, they give you a good write-up on the aircraft or the vehicle itself. All the colors are listed. and step by step. And this one comes probably, this might be one of the last ones they did by hand. I think all the future ones, or the ones pretty soon after this, they switched to CAD. It's easier to do instructions if you've got a CAD file, the parts already. But nobody beats Tamiya's instructions. They're phenomenal. And you get a couple of different markings. All of them American, which I guess is fine, because the only other country at wartime that had them was the British, but they had the wingtips shortened so they'd fit into the holds of the British armored carriers. I guess they didn't want to include that in the kit. It would have been a little more engineering. But no, they're cool markings, VF17 and VMF 111. I guess they didn't want to include the black sheep. Not too sure why. I think it would have been fitting. I think they included one of Boeington's aircraft in the bird cage. So normally, I'd say that's it. Thanks for watching, but we're going into overtime. I've got some aftermarket goodies here I wanted to show you. And we'll zoom in. The first one is new to me. It's a company called Part. I believe they're from Poland. I don't know if they're still active. Their website's kind of old. I've heard some good things about these guys. I'm just going to go and gently tear off the cover. Okay, nothing gently about it. I haven't been opening anything lately since I started this channel because I want to open them with you. Because you're special. Okay, probably not, but you know, that's how it goes. So, there's, whoops, let's turn it around the other way. I'm going to put it against the cards, so maybe that'll be a little easier to see the parts. That's probably better. It's about the best I can do for zooming on this. Anyway, you get the ignition wires, seat belts for the American style. If you're doing British, you'll need a Sutton harness, and it's slightly different. You get the instrument panel and a clear sheet to put behind it with the dials, and that just looks perfect to me. You also get the additional control boxes that go on top of the cowling, or the fairing of the cockpit. You get for the canopy piece with the grab-ons and the mirrors, some parts for the landing gear. I believe that's interior. I'm probably wrong. Then some various parts to fit on the landing gear again for the landing gear oleos. Hooks for the catapult bridles. Believe that's throttle parts. And as I look at this, I think, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I'm probably going to do another video. If you look back about 8 years ago, my good friend Paul Eastwood did part 1 of how to solder. He used to build wildlife trackers, which were really small, and had to solder all the components together for his 9-to-5. And what he does with Photoetch and a model it's witchcraft. It's unbelievable. But I'm gonna have him sit down with me, and we'll probably record it. So we'll probably call it An Idiot Learns How to Solder. Yeah, but this set really caught my eye, and looking at it now, it's half scared me and half got me enthused to learn how to solder properly. So that's Part, and I found that on Super Hobby, which is a Polish e-commerce hobby shop, which they get a lot of stuff from the East, and they've been actually pushing out a lot of stuff from the Ukraine, which is nice to see. So I'll put a link below for that. And speaking of the Ukraine, I got not one, but 2 sets from ResKit, and these are Corsair and Hellcat wheel sets. The only difference is one's land-based, the other's Navy. The Navy doesn't have an inflatable tire, and the land-based Corsair does. That's really the only difference. Let's open one of these up. So it says this one was packaged by Alina. I hope you're safe. There we go. Okay, so that's some of the detail on the hub. And detail on the other side. Quite nice. Whoops, there we go. No, too close. There we go. So I think we got too much content. There we go. Okay, so that's the Navy tire. And last but not least, I got this old Squadron kit I got at a flea market. And it was designed for the Tamiya kit. I don't know how much of it I will use. So that's the don't mean to be giving you that finger.
I'm sorry, I hate it. That's that. I'm sorry.
Okay, those are the rudder pedals. This is the seat, the gun sight. Yeah, actually, I'm probably going to use a lot of this. That's the American seat. Well, the American seat belts. They give you new cockpit firewall and instrument panel, and I honestly, I don't know. I don't think I'll replace the kit part with that. I don't see any reason to. Same with the, oh, this is for the bird cage. Okay. I don't see much reason to replace the kit part again with this. The oxygen bottle's a nice addition, but I don't know. We'll see what happens when I build it. These are the sides of the cockpit with the throttle, some of the controls. This is quite nicely done, and yeah, I would definitely replace the kit part with that. Okay, they gave me 2 of these. I wonder if there's maybe they missed something in here. Yeah, I think they missed the. Nope, they didn't. The kit stick is the kit stick. So I got 2 of these. So, well, that's a bonus. It's nice to have 2 parts you actually want to use. I'll see if I can zoom in further in my software. And then lastly, they give you some cockpit sidewalls. I think I'd just prefer to use the kit part. I would have liked to add those pieces separate that are here, but you get what they give you. So that's it. That's it for the Corsair. It's a great kit. I got plans for this one. I'm probably going to build Don Sheppard's. He had 5 kills. He flew off the Illustrious, I believe. Great Toronto boy, as Don Cherry would say. And he just recently passed away, sadly. Our vets are disappearing. Okay, so that's it on the Corsair. I hope you liked it. I will have one on the Magic... No, it's not Magic Box. Those are the figure guys. Magic Factory. When it is released over here. So stay tuned for that. What's your favorite Corsair? What's your favorite Corsair ace? I bet Chris has a lot to say on that. Well, Chris always has a lot to say on everything, but particularly on this subject, he'll have a lot to say. So So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and check out this video coming up. Click like, subscribe, and what's the last thing? Ring the bell for notifications. Join my Patreon if you want some goodies that you can't get otherwise, and join our mailing list so you can get our back issues of the old magazine. And check out Kitco, because I do list kits and books and sundry items. And that's it. Thanks for watching.